Hey, what's up, guys? Wanted to make a video here, something that I've really felt led to do in my heart now for a while, and I just haven't done it, so I finally just did it. And I wanted to share with you guys my testimony, my story on how I came to God. I came to God when I was 17 years old, 28 now, so I've been walking with Him for around 10 years. And there's a lot that I could share, spiritually speaking, that happened within those 10 years. So I'm just going to chop it up a little bit and really just share with you guys on how I came to know God and how I think God, and how God is still awesome to this day, almost 10 years later. So really started back when I was born into a Christian family. I was raised in church from an early age. I have memories that go back as far as my mind can remember of being in church. It's just on both sides of my family, like I said. So I was exposed to it just really young. And at a young age, I really wanted nothing to do with it. It just wasn't me, I just didn't appeal to me. I was just busy doing my own thing. I was living my own life, and none of that stuff was interesting to me. In fact, it was the complete opposite. It was boring. It was just whatever, and just wasn't something I was trying to do. And I remember that when I was younger, every time the church would do an altar call, that's when the preacher calls people up to pray and accept Christ and do all that. I remember that I would always take off and go hide in the restroom. It was like my signature move, just so nobody would bother me. That's how bad that I just didn't want anything to do with it. And so yeah, that's just how it was. I was pretty rebellious. Even just going into my teenage years and stuff, it was all just about hanging out with my buddies and just doing what I wanted to do and just all about me. And that was it. Just your typical rebellious teenager youth. Yeah, just God was the last thing on my mind. So I'll fast forward a little bit to when I was 17. I remember that summer I got in some trouble with some buddies and I got grounded for the rest of the summer. I was sentenced to 2 long, torturous weeks in my room. And at that time, I was driving, so that was devastating because I was always out running around with my buddies and just doing this and that. And so, yeah, I remember at this time, I was really ripped out of my routine, so I spent a lot of time in my room and was just was just by myself. And in that time, it was like God really had a window or whatever to really speak to my heart and get my attention, because I remember being in a lot of thought in that time. I was thinking about life a lot. I remember thinking that, man, there's got to be more to life than just making money, dying, and then whatever, partying all the time and chasing girls. There's got to be more to life than what you see on the surface. The American dream. There's got to be more. And I remember at that time having this hunger and this hole in my heart, thinking that, if I had to be honest with myself, I'm not really truly happy. There's something in my life that doesn't feel quite right. I remember thinking that. And so at that time, I looked up to God, and I remember calling out just one of those prayers where you're like, all right, God, if you're real, show me. It's I've been around it my whole life, and people in my family have been preaching to me and saying this and that. And so I finally just threw up one of those Hail Mary prayers in a sense and said, all right, God, here I am. If you're real, show me. And I remember being real about it, just being sincere about it. And it wasn't anything major. It was just that, just a simple prayer. And I tell you what, God showed up, and I almost can say that I probably didn't even expect it or know what to expect, but He showed up, and it wasn't instantly, right? It wasn't just bam, right there everything changed and the light switch got flipped on. It was over a short period of time, days, weeks. I just remember that I began to change. There was a transformation that literally took place in my heart. And I just began to become this different person for the better. I remember my attitude changed, on how I treated people. I just started becoming more happy and had this peace and joy that I never felt before. And it was such an obvious and evident change that I knew it was God. It was that prayer. It had to have been. It was too obvious. And I remember people that were close to me, friends and family, were just like, man, something's different about you. And so at this point, I'm just kind of blown away, and God just became real to me. And I can remember at that time having these nights and stuff where I would sneak out to my car when everybody went to bed and stuff, and my family, and I would go in my car and I would just pray. And I remember it was all so weird and new because I never prayed before. Like, you know, if somebody doesn't pray, like prayer is a foreign language in a sense. And so I remember having these times where I would sneak out and like talk to God, and like it was like this whole thing of like breaking through and having this prayer life, and that was all just, you know, really new to me. But I remember doing that and started talking to God like on a regular basis. And at that point I was like, all right, well, you know what, I gotta get in church. And so I had this buddy at the time that he worked with a guy that went to this church that knew some Christian rappers. And that really appealed to me at the time because I was into rap. I came up like listening to Eminem when he first hit the scene, and it inspired me to rap when I was younger and stuff. And so I went to this church and met these guys, and like we hit it off, you know. We started like hanging out together and rapping together. And next thing you know, I'm like plugged in this church, and we're traveling around local churches doing like raps and ministry and sharing our testimonies. And so yeah, my life just got flipped upside down, right? Like almost just out of nowhere. And like I said, I'm in this church and just growing so much spiritually, meeting all kinds of awesome people, and life was just amazing, right? And so God just showed up, and all it took was just a simple prayer. But the key was just being like open about it, being sincere, being real about it, because there was a real hunger inside of me. And I feel like God, you know, God can answer that hunger that we have, because everybody's hungry for truth. Everybody, you know, wants answers. And yeah, so that was my testimony, right? That's how I came to know God, and He showed up and just in such a real way. But I'll fast forward a little bit. You know, that was 17 years old. I'm 28 now, and I wish I could say that everything's just been uphill from there. Everything's been smooth, but that's not life. You know, life's a bumpy road no matter who you are, no matter what path you're on. That's just life, right? Ups and downs, smiles and frowns. But yeah, so life's just been a crazy ride. Like I said, I've had a lot of ups and downs. I've had moments over the years of, you know, walking away from God in a sense. Never let go. Like that's the crazy thing, is that all the lows I've had over the years, all the rough times, like God has always been there. Like no matter what, I've always felt His love and His hand over my life, pulling me back up, like restoring me, inspiring me, helping me in just so many different ways. And it's just been so awesome. And you know, one thing I know is that like in life, a lot of things change. People come and go, relationships come and go, and that's just how it is. But with God, it's been the complete opposite. Like He's never left my side, and it's just been such an incredible thing to witness that and to see His love and how it just really does run that deep, and forgiveness really does cover all sins. And I'm just sitting here today telling you guys that He really does want to have a relationship with you. Like God wants to know you. Like if you don't know God and you never have experienced it, like He's waiting for you to call out. And I'm telling you, it all does start with just a sincere, open heart, like looking up, calling out, reaching out, and just ask Him if He's there to show Himself to you. And I believe that He will. I really do. He did it for me, He can do it for you. I'm no different than you. I'm no more special than you. And we're all the same in His eyes. He loves everybody. And so yeah, that's my story in a nutshell a little bit. Just God's just been so awesome. And even to this day, I'm not perfect, far from it, never will be, but just I continue to just feel God's hand and His love over my life, and He just continues to walk with me and teach me things and just to grow spiritually. And it's just so awesome. You know, there's nothing like it. There's nothing compared to knowing God. And yeah, I hope this video was inspiring to some people. And yeah, guys, talk to you later.